Okay, we're here with the Ed Board Police Commissioners, Thursday, December the 4th, 2025 at 5 p.m. First on the agenda would be roll call. Ryan Pierceville.
Here.
Emily Cravens.
Here.
Curtis Brooks is here. Brian Alsip is here.
I'm here, thank you.
And also Miss Rhonda Barrett is here. Okay, next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from Commissioners meeting on November the 12th, 2025.
Make a motion to approve the minutes from November 12th, 2025 meeting.
I'll second that. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Abstain.
Ryan Pierceville abstained. Okay, next on the agenda is the discussion on proceedings to review discipline review request. Mr. Alsip.
Thank you. There has come before the board a proceedings for the review of disciplinary request for an officer, Ryan Coy. The first matter of business to handle on this will be my recusal. I do have a conflict in this matter. I would recommend that the board adopt substitute counsel Michael J. Kyle to handle this matter.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to accept Mike Kyle as the fill-in for Brian. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
With that, I'm going to step away and Mr. Kyle will take over.
All right, my name's Mike Kyle. I'm an attorney in Franklin, and I've been through some of these merit procedures before, and disciplinary reviews. I preliminarily discussed some of the matters with the attorneys, Mr. Huddleston, who will be representing the chief, Mr. Riley, who's going to be representing Officer Coy. Preliminarily, and you gentlemen can correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Huddleston will present the chief's arguments first. Mr. Riley will have the opportunity to cross-examine. The board will be able to ask questions if they would like as well. After chief's case comes to a rest, Mr. Riley will have an opportunity to present whatever evidence he would like on behalf of Officer Coy. Gentlemen, is that your understanding how we're going to proceed this evening?
Yes, sir.
Can I just make one point of clarification?
Absolutely.
Or ask for clarification? So would it be, the chief would, for lack of a better term, testify, and then Officer Coy testifies, and then you would have a chance for final remarks?
Absolutely.
After that?
Yes.
Yes, that's my understanding.
And we also discussed rules of evidence. We're all attorneys. We know what the rules of evidence are. We're sort of agreeing that we're going to go by what we've considered small claims rules here. Reliable hearsay will be permitted. If it gets too crazy, then we'll address that when we get there.
And I want to make one more point before we proceed.
Absolutely.
We also talked about in our conversations with all parties present leading up to today that the very mechanism that allows Officer Coy to request review is the statute that nice touch.
Welcome to Edinburgh.
Yeah.
The statute that allows him to request review within 48 hours of a suspension less than 5 days, it does allow a board to either, as a binary choice, either affirm or reverse the chief's decision, nothing more, nothing less. We're all in agreement on that as well, correct?
Then we're all in agreement.
All right.
Mr. Huddleston, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Kyle and board. My name is Dustin Huddleston, attorney for the town of Edinburgh, representing the police department on this matter. Procedurally, we're here today on a disciplinary review of Officer Ryan Coy. The chief of police, Dwayne Little, decided to issue a notice of suspension for a 3-day disciplinary suspension of Officer Coy. He has served those 3-day suspensions, and then as his counsel just indicated, pursuant to Indiana Code 36-8-3-4.1B. Officer Coy had a right to request a review of that disciplinary, and he timely did. The police chief has a right to unilaterally provide a suspension less than 5 days without any review from this board. And that right is found on Indiana Code 36-8-3-4.1. And he did so as we'll present. I will be ready to call the chief as my first witness.
You may proceed,
Okay. Can you sworn in?
please.
Okay.
Chief? Sure. Would you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're going to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Please state your full name, current title, and official position within the town of Edinburgh Police Department.
My name is Dwayne, D-O-Y-N-E, Little, L-I-T-T-L-E. I'm a junior. I'm the chief of police with the Edinburgh Police Department in the town of Edinburgh.
For what duration have you served the capacity as chief of police of the town of Edinburgh?
So I have been both the town marshal and the chief of police because we have changed from a town marshal department to a merit department as part of the Edinburgh Metropolitan Police Department and part of the pension process. So I've actually been a chief of police / town marshal since 2019, but my official title of chief of police when we went to the Metropolitan Board started in 2025. So essentially both 2019 through 2025 as the town marshal and then 2025 as the chief of police.
What other positions have you held with the town of Edinburgh?
I have been a lieutenant back in 2014. I have also been a town marshal because we were a town marshal department starting in 2003. And then I've also been a police dispatcher with the Edinburgh Police Department as well.
So, how long have you served in the position of town of Edinburgh Police Department?
Since 2003,
Continuously?
continuously.
Can you provide an overview of your experience in law enforcement, including any pertinent certifications or specialization training you've undertaken?
Correct. I've went through the Marion County Sheriff's Department Special Deputy Academy, graduated in 2001, came to Edinburgh Police Department where I went to the Indiana Law Enforcement Academy where I graduated in class 05164. And I went through training from criminal background, criminal investigations, interviewing, and ongoing law enforcement related training for 25 years total.
How many police officers serve under you as chief?
There is a total of 13 full-time, 4 reserves, and then I also have an administrative assistant.
In general, what are the rules and policies that any police officer in the town of Edinburgh is subject to?
So we take care of state law, state statutes. So we enforce laws of the state of Indiana, some town personnel policy, social media policy, drug and alcohol policies. We also have a sexual harassment, sexual abuse policy, which also has related misconduct. We have an Edinburgh confidentiality agreement and policy, and then any, of course, resolutions or town ordinances that the police department would enforce for the town of Edinburgh.
Can you elaborate for the board the protocols for investigating complaints or incidents involving police personnel?
So any calls that come to the police department come to either the chief of police or the deputy chief for investigation. If those complaints are made that could be of criminal nature, we will ask another agency to do that investigation so we don't have any conflicts. Otherwise, the police and the deputy chief are the ones that do investigations on complaint on officers. Those complaints are created into our Spillman database, which is our police database, and then they are partitioned.
Chief, you heard my opening statement to the board. Can you confirm you did issue discipline to Officer Ryan Coy in the manner of a 3-day suspension without pay?
I did.
And how did you memorialize the decision to discipline Officer Coy?
Well, I did my investigation. My investigation was based off a complaint from this, originally starting from the school, the Edinburgh school, where they made a police report for harassment. That was taken by another officer originally, and because of conflicts or concerns that Edinburgh Police Department had a couple officers that could have a conflict, one being the one was a coach for the school, and the other one being that the suspect in this was related by a girlfriend, that I would partition the case and that I would do the case sole so there was no conflict. I even did one step farther, just in case there was a concern, contacted the Johnson County Sheriff, Dwayne Burgess, to have him and his department as a backup if I felt that we were going to any place where I needed to have another agency take care of it.
Okay, and before we get into more details of that, what I was asking was, what document did you give Officer Coy that showed you his fitness?
We have a disciplinary document that we fill out in any disciplinary forms, and it shows what the violations are, and it goes into some details.
And what's the mark was given to him?
Is there any objection to Exhibit A?
There is not.
Move to the Exhibit A.
So admitted?
Can you identify Exhibit A for me, please?
This is the notice of discipline action that I filled out for Officer Ryan Coy, and then I also have some attachments with some evidence to support.
Are the attachments referenced in the notice?
They are.
What are the two violations cited in the notice that are basis for this?
Social media posts and failure to log miles on a police vehicle for personal use.
Okay, were you directly involved in the subject matter for disciplinary today?
Yeah.
And did you exercise oversight of the department's response?
Yes.
Let's talk about the social media posts first. What's the background? You just were commenting on it. This, the background of the social media posts. Is this involving an incident at Edgewood School Corporation?
It was. On September 18th, one of my police officers were called to take a harassment report. Once the officer got there and got some of the details of the harassment report, which involved some juveniles, he immediately understood that there was going to be a conflict because one of the suspects had ties to Officer Coy via a girlfriend. It's Officer Coy's girlfriend's son, and that he should not take that report and do any investigation for that report. So he immediately contacted me. At the very next day when I was in the office, I took over the investigation. I partitioned the investigation, and I was the sole person responsible for this investigation.
Okay, so to be clear, Officer Coy had nothing to do with the incident at Edgewood School Corporation, other than there was possible conflict with his girlfriend's son.
That's correct.
Okay. And then you said the next day, so you have September 19th, that's when you started an investigation on the issue of the school corporation?
Correct.
And then you just mentioned the investigation was partitioned. Can you explain to the board what you mean by that?
Sure. Any kind of a sensitive case could be a law enforcement officer complaint, but it's also some other sensitive cases, child cases and things of that sort. We being myself, the deputy chief, have the opportunity to go in and place this thing in a partition. It's basically putting it in an envelope where nobody can see it through the computer, including law enforcement, prosecutors. Nobody else can see it except for those that have permission to the EPD partition. There's 3 of us that have that partition capabilities to view. It's myself, the deputy chief, and then my administrative assistant can get in, limited to be able to see things to transcribe if we need her to.
So you're investigating this matter with the school corporation. What happens next with regards to specifically officer?
At one point, Officer Coy came to my office, which was September 24th, and asked if we could talk. I have an open door policy for all my officers. We had a closed door session where we talked. I told him that he didn't need to be involved in this case because of the conflict, that it was partitioned, and that I would eventually need to interview his girlfriend's son. However, in that time frame, unfortunately, there was a loss in the family, in his family. So I also told him that I was going to wait to do that interview until they had time to lay that relative to rest out of respect.
Yeah, Chief clarified the loss in whose family?
It would be Officer Coy's girlfriend's, I believe, dad. However, Officer Coy was very, very close to this.
Okay, thank you. Now, at this meeting, so it was on September 24th.
That's correct.
Did you instruct Officer Coy not to post any on social media regarding the school?
No, I didn't think that I needed to. That's pretty much common sense on law enforcement. We don't post anything about any investigation. We don't post about a ongoing criminal investigation, because we're kind of held to that higher standard.
You have the meeting with Officer Coy that he requested with you on September 24th. What then happened?
As far as the social media,
Correct, we're still on social media.
um, jotted some notes down.
Were you informed about any posts happening after that meeting?
So I was at home, actually late in the evening when I was in bed, and I got a message from a school teacher that there was a message asked if I had seen Officer Coy's post, which I hadn't. I was actually in bed getting ready to go to sleep for the night. And the school teacher stated that it was very unprofessional and something that a cop shouldn't be post. So I went to go look at the post where I had observed Officer Coy posting about the case that I had, which was still pending, still being investigated. So I sent him a message, which we often do with each other to try to police each other. If we post anything on social media that can be questionable or maybe somebody might feel a little bit differently, we always send a message, which I did, that just basically says that we live in a glass house. You probably should look at that post and decide if it's something that you want to post.
What day was this?
It would have been September 30th.
Okay. The post that you found, did you attach those to the notice?
I did.
Okay. And the message, we'll talk about that in a minute, but the one you sent to Officer Coy, is that attached to the notice?
It is.
Now, the message you sent to Officer Coy, is that a private message between you and him, or can anyone else see that on the internet?
No, that is a private message using Facebook Messenger. It was just between him and I.
Okay. You already kind of stated this, but I want to ask you the question, why are you concerned about those social media posts?
Well, it puts the integrity and confidence of our department in jeopardy, and it also interferes with my investigation.
After you sent the private message, Officer Coy,
Well, his response back was, police should have never been involved. This was handled improperly from the start, and I blame the superintendent for that. This video is, and I apologize for the language board, but it says this video is fucking stupid, and you should have never been sent out again. They're both wrong for that. My ground I'm standing on this is a double standard and the lies spread from the superintendent, media, and that lady.
and is that response attached to your notice?
It is.
Okay. Now, let's talk about the video. That has nothing to do with you, Officer Coy. That's involving the students.
That is a criminal investigation.
So it's correct?
Correct.
It's not a video you sent.
No, this was on what originally came out as harassment, and it's still a pending litigation that has been sent to the Juvenile Detention Center, juvenile prosecutors.
Did you ever ask Officer Coy if he made those posts?
Well, both in his message response that it's his right, and then also in the disciplinary action where he confirmed that he did send those messages.
That was in person?
Correct.
When did your investigation of the school incident conclude?
Well, I still had my interview that I was trying to do with the juvenile suspect after these posts had went out. So I had not had a chance to talk to him. But after those posts were posted on social media, including the Indy Star and some other Facebooks areas, I went ahead and sent that probable cause in case to the prosecutor after I called them to let them know that it was coming and that there had been some social media posts that obviously are conflicts with that.
Okay. Do you remember when you stopped your investigation and turned that over to the Johnson County Prosecutor's Office?
October 1st of 2025, what we do is we go into the Spillman database and we transmit that electronically to the prosecutor's office. And then when they accept it, it shows an acceptance. So it's at around 11 o'clock, 11:03 in the morning, and a couple minutes later, the prosecutor on their end showed receipt.
So to be clear, with a social media post attached to the notice made before or after October?
So it's before that time.
So when the posts were made, your investigation of the school incident was still.
Yeah, it was still under investigation because I needed to interview the juvenile suspect.
Okay, so your notice, Exhibit A, states that you charged Officer Coy saying the social media posts were what violations?
Violation of rules, immoral conduct, and conduct unbecoming an officer.
Okay. Violation of what rules?
Well, we have rules for social media policy, the town policy, um, and then anything that has to do with law enforcement, which we have a confidentiality, can't share that information.
Andy, what's marked Exhibit B? Can you identify that document?
Yes, this is Resolution 20-19. It's the resolution to develop a social media policy for the town of Edinburgh, which was presented to the town council, signed and approved by the town council, uh, adopted the 25th day of March 2019.
Who's made Exhibit B?
Is there any objection?
No objection.
Thank you. So admitted.
Okay, next, let's talk about the logging of miles. Independent of the social media post, what was the other violation you cited in the case?
So, thanks to the council, we were given an ordinance allowing personal use of police cars for law enforcement officers. It's limited use. For patrol officers, they have, I believe, 500 miles that an ordinance was created. When that give each of the officers the capability of using that personal use, I went ahead and did one step farther, sent out an email, an edict basically that just says, in addition to that ordinance allowing you to use your vehicle, we need to keep track of that mileage. And my email said for them to go into the radio log in Spillman. It's just an area that we can go into and put PU for personal use, BM for beginning mileage, put the mileage. And then when you're done for the day, you do the exact same, but PU/BM or EM for ending mileage. So that way we have some accountability for me to be able to look to make sure an officer is not going over the mileage that's been approved by the council.
You referenced an ordinance, is that a resolution about the vehicle vehicles?
I believe it is, Resolution 2024-7.
And what's marked Exhibit C? That's a resolution you just talked about.
Thank you.
Can you identify that?
It is, it's Resolution 2024-7, the resolution for use of vehicles by the town marshal and the deputy marshal is approved by the town council and adopted this 22nd day of April 2024 with their signatures.
No objection.
Thank you. So admitted.
And then your internal rule that you said emails, when did you email that out?
Let me look at that exact date. That email was sent out April 30th, 2024 at 4:33 p.m. and it went to all EPD officers. And that is everyone in my department.
Per your notice, did Officer Ford follow these rules? On the rules and the mileage?
No,
How?
he was observed on 2 separate dates by myself. Basically what I do is if I see an officer that's out, that's not on duty, we can click on our computer in their car and see radio log history and it shows who's on duty, off duty, and if they've logged any mileage. That was the purpose of that. And he didn't log his mileage on 2 separate days,
Remember the dates?
September 21st and September 30th
Okay.
of this year.
Then, after you observed that, and found the mileage on log, did you address that, or did anyone address that with Officer?
Yes, I requested his direct supervisor that's over that shift contact him, tell him that he has to make sure that he's putting all of his personal use mileage on there, which was completed. And ultimately, Officer Coy logged into his computer and logged those miles for September 21st and September 30th, actually on October 8th. So when you do that log, it timestamps it automatically. So it was retroactively to when you actually used it, and the supervisor had already talked to him.
So what's the failure of the log miles, or what violations?
It's a violation of rules.
Are you aware of any other officer that failed to log the miles?
I'm not aware of any. I've checked with Deputy Chief Kelsey and myself, and nobody has brought anything else forward to us.
Okay. When did you finalize your Exhibit A report?
October 22nd of this year.
Okay. And so what was the timing between the social media post and the finalization of the report?
Approximately 3 weeks.
And when did you give the notice exhibit A to Officer?
October 22nd of this year, myself and Deputy Chief Kelsey, as a witness, came into the police department. When Officer Coy came on duty, we asked him to come to the police department. He was served that notice that morning, October 22nd, at approximately 6 a.m.
And your notice provides a 3-day suspension without pay. Is that correct?
That's correct. He was suspended October 22nd, 23rd, and the 27th. Those were 3 days that he was scheduled.
And he has served those.
He has.
No further questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Martha has stand over here, so I have a,
Wherever you'd like. It's not exactly good for a cross-examination here, I don't think.
well, we'll make it.
Yes.
Good, I guess, late afternoon, early evening. Chief. I'm going to ask you some questions. I'm going to start with, I'm going to go in the same order as your counsel. I'm going to start with the social media posts in question, and then I'm going to move on to the driving,
Yes, sir.
according to the mileage issue.
Yes, sir.
So, first of all, when Officer Coy made the post on his Facebook page, I want to get a few things clear. First of all, those were on his personal Facebook page, correct?
Those were through his personal Facebook page, on his page, and then also posted in the comment section of Facebook for the Indy Star.
Sure, but any posts that were in question, or that you observed, or that were the basis of this violation, were from his personal Facebook account.
Correct, by his page or his picture, because we were friends on Facebook at the time. That's how I know it was his.
You were
But yes,
You were a
absolutely.
friend with him on Facebook.
Absolutely.
So it was his picture, his name.
Correct.
It wasn't a Facebook account associated or held by the town or the department, correct?
No.
You mentioned that there was an investigation that was partitioned, correct?
Correct, a criminal investigation.
And that investigation was partitioned, and that avoided, or prevented rather, Officer Coy from seeing what was part of that investigation, correct?
Correct. No one except for myself, the deputy chief, and then of course my administrative secretary to be able to do any transcriptions. No one else can see that anywhere in the county.
And you don't have any reason to believe Officer Coy violated that partition to view that investigation?
I don't know that there's a way that he could, so I agree that no, he did not.
Okay. And you said that you didn't tell him not to post on social media about it because in your mind that's just common sense. Is that right?
Yes, you don't post about a criminal investigation, especially a pending criminal investigation, because that's interfering. It's a crime in itself.
You'd also admit that Officer Coy didn't know anything about that criminal investigation, correct?
Not from the police department side. If he had any, it was from the relation to the suspect. But nothing from the police department.
From his perspective as a police officer, he didn't know anything about that criminal investigation because it was partitioned.
Oh, I agree with that. As far as from the police department side, yes.
Okay. In any of the posts that we're here to discuss today, did Officer Coy ever mention any names of the individuals involved in that investigation?
If I may look, I do not believe so, but if you'll give me a second just to make
You
sure.
can check. I would propose he didn't, but
I don't recall seeing them, but let me make sure. I do not see anything with my victim or even suspect's name in there. The only thing that I do see is a conversation about him with a friend Roberts and it's okay to batter a female. That's the only mention of any name that I would be concerned with.
Okay. So again, any witnesses, suspects, victims involved in that partition investigation, he didn't name any names.
No.
He didn't ever say in any of those posts that, he never pointed out that he was a police officer, correct?
Not specifically in that post, no.
So certainly none of those communications were official police communications.
They were not official police communications, however, they had details of the crime that I was investigating, including the video and some unprofessional comments or abbreviations for words that a law enforcement officer shouldn't carry himself with.
Well, I guess let's talk about that. When you say unprofessional comments, what are you referring to?
The abbreviations of the racial slurs that he was putting in there, or what appear to be racial slurs.
Okay, well, and you don't, I guess you don't know with certainty what those words were because they're not abbreviations, they're censored words. In other words, he's used asterisks instead of the actual letters.
With the exact same amount of asterisks as the word that I believe, in my opinion.
I'm not sitting here arguing that, I'm not going to sit here and argue with you on what words he was trying to relay. Okay, that's not my point. My point is, the way that those words are typed, anybody who's lived on this earth longer than 10 years is going to know what words he's referring to, sure. But that's not my question. The question is, it's only the first two letters of each one of those words, right?
I agree with that.
And the remainder of the letters for whatever given for each respective word is an asterisk for each letter.
Yes, sir.
Why does one use those? Why would one use asterisks from your perspective instead of writing out the whole word?
When they don't want to, probably to offend somebody could be. It could be that they are just trying to hide that feeling. I don't know. I don't put asterisks. If I'm going to put a word out, I put a word out myself. That's just my personal. But I'm not sure why he would do it that way other than to just conceal everything or putting something very specific like a word that could be offensive.
Well, you and I agree he's not trying to conceal what the words are, right? We know what the words are.
Yes.
So is it more probable that he's using asterisks because he knows that they're offensive words and he wouldn't want to offend anyone?
Could be, yes.
And you sent him it's a private Facebook Messenger message.
Correct.
In that message, you told him, be careful. As police officers, we live in a glass house. Police officers, trust me, I know, police officers are under scrutiny. This could bring more scrutiny
Correct.
to the department.
That's correct.
You didn't say in that message, remove X post or you post anymore, you're going to get in trouble or anything like that.
No.
You said I'll call it direct, that there are times when officers maybe kind of, excuse the pun, self-police each other. Hey, if somebody says something on social media, another officer might go, hey, that, you might want to be careful. That's kind of like what you did to Officer Court, right?
That's correct. And that has been going on for my 25 years.
Well, and we all know social media is a double-edged sword, or, I'm not so sure the benefits are not heavily outweighed by the downside, but there are many times when officers that you that have been in your employ have posted opinions on Facebook, I'm sure, right?
Could be opinions, could be something that wasn't meant, but it could have been construed by somebody else a different way or observed.
Okay. Would you would agree that just because someone is a police officer, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're First Amendment right to express their opinion on social media is stripped, right?
No, it's just how you carry yourself in law enforcement, how you're going to be perceived by what you post could have a lot of effects of not only for the officer, but for the police department themselves.
Sure. And then there are, at times, policies that can be violated by certain things people would say, in theory, correct?
In theory, if there's something that brought to the attention, then it will be dealt with by administrations. But I would agree that, again, that somebody can perceive one thing that could be a violation and not be a violation. In that case, that's what that message would be for that says, live in a glass house.
Well, and there could conceivably be a post that an officer posts that, and again, I'm not referring to these, I'm just referring hypothetically.
Yep.
That isn't a policy violation in your eyes, but that you'd still say, hey, we might want to take it easy with that kind of stuff.
Absolutely.
I want to talk very quickly about the policy that has been referenced regarding social media. And, I'm referring to what's been marked as Exhibit B, Resolution number 2019-2. You have that in front of you?
I do.
The first, after the title, it states a resolution to develop a social media policy for the town of Edinburgh. The first two paragraphs read, whereas the town of Edinburgh provides information and announcements through social media to citizens of the town regarding activities, services, and information. And it says, whereas the Edinburgh Town Council has deemed it necessary to pass a resolution that develops and controls the social media activities of the town. And then it goes on to state what the purpose of the resolution is. Do you see that?
I do.
Is it your position, with the purpose reading, to define the individual and departmental responsibilities for the use of the town of Edinburgh social media tools? When it's referring to the town of Edinburgh social media tools, is it your position that this resolution is referring to an officer's individual, private, and off-duty use of social media?
This is a social media, in my opinion, the way that I take it, of what they can or should or should not post, how they should present themselves as a town employee or a police officer.
Well, it says town of Edinburgh's social media tools possessive, of the town of Edinburgh's is possessive. Is Officer Coy's personal Facebook page that he uses while he's off duty a media tool of the town of Edinburgh?
Not specific, not directly, no. It's not his personal page, there's no. Him carrying it as a law enforcement officer is part of this policy. Again,
But again, it states that the purpose, and I'll move on if you just don't agree with me.
I don't agree with you.
Okay. So, can you point to language in here that specifies that a private Facebook page would fall underneath that definition of Edinburgh social media tool?
Again, I'm talking more on how he's carrying himself as a law enforcement officer, not the actual tool, or whether it's his Facebook login or the town of Edinburgh's Facebook login.
But when we're talking about a specific policy violation, we gotta tie it back to the policy, don't we?
Yes.
So how does that tie back to this language? in
Because
this
he's
policy?
carrying himself as a law enforcement officer. And we've already disagreed on the piece about which page it is.
Well, we disagreed on whether the words exist, I guess, we think, right? If they don't exist. I mean, if it's your position that, well, I'll move on. Because I don't think we're going to agree. Well, I'll move on. Let's talk about the vehicle recording of the matter. So the town council adopted resolution 2024-7, and that's exhibit C, allowing personal use of police vehicles. That was a relatively new thing. Before this, police officers weren't allowed to use their vehicles for personal use. Is that true? Or at least,
Administrators were at one point, but local or regular police officers were not until this resolution. So essentially before my time, the chief of police and the deputy chief were allowed to do it. However, that was taken away at one point. Patrol officers like Officer Boyd and myself at that time, lieutenants, sergeants were not allowed to until this ordinance came into effect.
okay.
Hopefully I answered that, sorry.
No, that's what I was looking for. And in this resolution, I think we can agree on this. It kind of affirmatively permits that limited personal use up to 500 miles of personal use per month. Is that right?
That is correct.
And of course, Officer Coy falls into that category of officers who receive that benefit.
That's correct.
Just to be abundantly clear, there's no violation alleged that he exceeded the 500-mile limit, right?
No.
Or that he drove in a county he wasn't allowed to, or anything like that.
Not that I'm aware of.
So really, this is only a policy violation in your eyes regarding the way he recorded the mileage, when he recorded it, or a lack thereof, or about recording the mileage, okay?
Yes, we can wait for the train real quick. It's Edinburgh. I apologize for that. Yes, the fact that he did not record his mileage until after he was spoken to by a supervisor telling me they can't violate that, because if we continue to violate that, I can't track whether they are or are not going over their miles. That's what that was put into place for. As far as whether they are going to another county, I have to trust that they're not going into another county. There's no GPS on there. So if we were to catch them in another county, then that would be a different violation.
But the 2 days in question that you're saying you saw him driving, but that he didn't log miles, were September 21st and September 30th. Is that right?
Yes.
And then the miles were eventually logged on October 8th. Is that right?
After he was spoken to by a supervisor, yes.
When was he spoken to by the supervisor?
It would have been probably the day before that. I don't have that exact date.
Around October, or either around or right before October 8th?
Right before he recorded it.
Do you recall whether Officer Coy was on vacation in that time frame?
I do not recall. I believe that he was. Matter of fact, I know he was on the 2 days that he was, that we used those. I believe he was off that entire week because I know he was doing a car show or something up in Indianapolis.
So October 8th, it could have been right. October 7th, October 8th, that time frame could have been right when he got back from vacation.
Could have been. However, he's supposed to record it when he starts his personal use and record his ending when he ends his personal use, not days later or weeks later.
Well, let's talk about that. Is resolution 2024-7 Exhibit C. The only language I can see in the resolution has to do with how to report personal use mileage would be paragraph 4 of that resolution, which states police officers shall keep track of their personal use mileage by marking on Spillman the beginning and ending mileage for each personal use and report such records to the town marshal, or in the present case, the chief.
Correct.
So I guess my question to you is, where in that language in paragraph 4 of the resolution does it state the time frame in which mileage must be reported?
It says in my email, which is the follow-up to further restrict that you will go to the radio log using code 43 as your original email stated, but in the description, use PM or PUBM, which is personal use beginning mileage. It gives an example for beginning mileage, and that you will mark the same at the end of the personal use for the day using PUEM, which is personal use ending mileage and the mileage. So in that specific email, it says that it has to be done when you start it and when you use it. That's why it says at the end of your personal use.
I don't have that email in front of me. Would you mind if I look at it?
Absolutely. Um, Sure.
Just to get my own copy. I'll give this right back to you.
You could have that, sir. That's an extra copy.
Thank you. Well, so, I'm sorry, now that I have it in front of me, point out to me the sentence you just read that gives a mandate on.
This big, be the second line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for your beginning mileage, and we will need to have you mark the same at the end of the person use for the day using PU, EM, and then that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is an example of mileage. This way that we can export as a spreadsheet. Sorry for the confusing email. If anyone has any questions, give me a call. And this is what every officer is doing. So periodically, what I will do is have my administrative secretary go into Spillman. We have a wild card where we can just do after PU and just easily be able to list by each officer. We put it into the spreadsheet, have that mileage totaled to make sure that officers aren't going over the mileage that they're allowed to have. I have unlimited usage, and yet I do this every day before my car even moves.
Okay. I guess my question to you is, and I read this sentence in this email prior to today. I read and interpret a lot of language in my job. Are you telling me that you think that this is completely clear as to the fact that this is a mandate to put in the mileage at the exact moment the personal use ends versus that they just need to report whenever that is?
That's my determination, yes. Or that's what my intention was, and that's how I take that email. And every other officer in the department's doing
Well, that's how you
exactly.
take the email, because you wrote the email.
Sure.
But this was an email message that was sent to Officer Coy, correct?
That
And
was
among other officers too.
to 14 officers, and they are all doing that exact thing.
Okay,
Because it's timestamped in Spillman's database. So when you make that comment, radio log, it's basically call commented. The exact date, time for that entry.
was there ever person-to-person, in-person communication about this particular email? Or what?
Not this specific email, no.
Was there ever a training on this particular issue?
No.
So the only communication on timing, again, doesn't come from the resolution itself, but it comes from this one sentence you're referring to in this email.
Correct.
And based off of not putting mileage in at this same time, you think that warrants a policy violation to be formally brought against an officer?
I do.
And are there times when to log into the Spillman system, you have to do a two-step authentication?
Correct.
And do officers have personal phones and work phones?
Yes, they do.
Does it go to the work phone or their personal phone?
At the time of this, it was whichever phone they signed in on, what we had it. Recently, everything goes to their work phone. I cannot tell you which phone this specific authentication went to at that time.
Okay. Are officers required to have their work phone on them when they're on vacation?
No.
When Officer Coy was told that he needed to put mileage in, he did put the mileage in, correct?
Yes, I see it in the database, yes.
And you have no reason to believe any of the mileage he put in or didn't put in exceeded any limits or violated the policy in any other way, correct?
As far as mileage, no.
Are you familiar with the concept of progressive discipline?
Yes, generally, if there is a minor violation, we would have options. We could do a verbal, and verbal is always kind of a double-edged word because you verbally, but you have to notate it. But a verbal, a written, that written could be just a warning, and then you could do disciplinary action for me up into this merit board rules up to 5 days. So it could be a verbal, a written reprimand to not do it again, or it could be something to do with a disciplinary days off.
Well, in determining discipline, you look at what the reason for the discipline is, the actual conduct.
Severity.
And you're also looking at prior instances, the lack thereof, of previous discipline, right?
Depending on the severity, yes.
And as a chief, the most severe discipline you can hand down or recommend to the board would be termination, right?
5 days, and then the board can go farther than that. But yes, I could
That's why
make
I
that
phrased it as
recommendation. Yes.
Unilaterally, you got up to 5 days. But
Correct.
beyond that, you got termination, and a step below that would be demotion, right?
Correct.
And a step below that would be suspension.
Correct.
And then before we get to suspension, you could unilaterally give to an officer a counseling, a written reprimand, remedial training, all that good stuff,
I
right?
could, yes.
And to your knowledge, does Officer Boyd have any previous disciplinary record?
No.
I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Huddleston, do you have any follow-up on that?
Real quick. Chief, you remember Mr. Riley asking a question about Officer Coy, he was partitioned from the investigations, we didn't know about it.
From the law enforcement side only.
Okay.
You cannot see my investigation notes, the original report, or anyone involved.
Okay. But I want to make sure that it's clear. Officer Coy approached you and wanted to meet with you on September 24th about the incident, correct?
That is correct.
And at that meeting, you made it clear you were investigating it and it was under investigation, is that
Correct. And he did not need to be in any part involved with that.
correct? Okay. So after September 24th, it has been clear that you were investigating the matter at the school and it was partitioned and it was under investigation, correct?
Correct.
On your notice, Exhibit A, you have cited additional issues with the social media policies as violations in addition to the rules, is that correct?
Yes.
And then regarding the email you sent that Mr. Riley just discussed about you sending a direct email to all the officers about the police take over the oath of the notes.
Correct.
It's true that Officer Coy never asked you or questioned you about that email?
No, he did not. And he's been putting his mileage in the computer for as much as I've been spot checking, because I do spot check everybody's mileage.
Okay. When he put in the mileage on October 8th, after he was asked to do it, did he ever come to you and say, I didn't understand the email for that directive, then you had to put it in the same day you traveled?
No.
Mr. Riley? any
I have no
follow-up?
questions on those, thank you.
Anybody from the commission, do you have any questions for Chief Little? Okay. There being none, Mr. Huddleston, and do you need I'm sorry, noticed Officer Coy left. Do you need a break?
If we could wait till he just
Yeah,
gets back,
sure.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Just a restroom break, my understanding.
That's fine.
Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
I have no further witnesses.
Okay.
We already proceeded.
We are. Thank you, sir. Do you swear or affirm any testimony you're going to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may proceed.
Let me get my juggling act in order here.
You're fine. All right, just 1 minute.
Oh, sorry.
You're fine.
Officer Coy, I think the members of the board probably know at least a thing or two about you and your career and your, where you are in your career. But can you give some background information involved, including the length of your employment, your current assignment, typical duties, things like that?
Okay, so I've been hired on full-time since November 13th, 2018. Prior to that, I actually graduated the Edinburgh Police Department Reserve Academy as well. Since that time, I've been a night shift patrolman and a day shift patrolman. I was also a canine handler for approximately a year or so before Kira passed away. In my duties, I take calls. I do proactive policing by driving around, observing the town for 12 hours a day from 6A to 6P. I assist with anybody that obviously needs help in our community. I typically like to go into each one of our schools and spend a lot of time there as well. Obviously, I have kids in the school system. I've been around a lot of these kids. I've also even coached youth sports in this community as well. So it's just one of those things that I love doing what I do.
And you heard me ask the chief whether you had any disciplinary record, and it's accurate that you do not have a disciplinary record.
Prior to this, in 8 years, I have not had any disciplinary action.
I want to start by talking to you about the alleged violation of the personal use of the police vehicles. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, the emails that we've discussed, I don't believe they've been presented to the. I don't believe they've been presented to the board. The emails we've discussed, you know what emails that the emails that have been referred to. You're familiar with those emails, correct?
Yes, sir.
So in terms of the information you've received as to the expectations for logging mileage, first of all, you got a copy of the resolution when it passed, correct?
Correct.
And so 1 3/4 page document, you reviewed that, nothing that'll trip you up in there, right?
Correct.
And is it your position that there's no time frame as to when you log miles in the resolution?
Not that I recall.
And do you recall reading the sentence from the email that the chief has referred to that states, you will still go to, I'm not pronouncing these things, RLOG, RLOG, using the code 43 as original email stated, but in the description, please use PUBN 12345 for your beginning mileage, and you will need to have your mark, and we will need to have you mark the same at the end of the person use for the day using PUBN 12345. You read that sentence?
Correct.
When it states, please use PUBN 12345 for your beginning mileage, what does that mean to you?
For the beginning mileage of that use.
Okay, and we will need to have you mark the same at the end of the person use for the day using PUBN 12345. What does that mean to you?
The ending mileage for that use.
Okay, did you take that to mean that you had to mark the mileage right at the end of the personal use or something else?
I was under the impression that as long as we obviously logged a beginning mileage and ending mileage, that they were getting what they were requesting.
Okay, are there times that you did log the mileage right at the end of the personal use?
Yeah.
Okay, so why didn't you do it on the 2 dates in question?
So those actually, it was 2 weeks in total that I was on vacation. I was traveling from my house on Fulford Drive to the Indiana State Fairgrounds, which is where Mecum car auction was taking place. That is one of my part-time gigs that I enjoy twice a year. With that being said, I was on vacation. I didn't have my work cell phone, and my work cell phone is what I use to be able to log into the laptop in my car and the computer on station as well. So my first official shift back was October 8th. And on that morning, I went through and I logged all the usage that I had for that time frame.
So the September dates, the 2 dates, that you agree you didn't log your personal use mileage on those actual days you
Correct.
drove, right?
Correct.
You were on vacation at that time, correct?
Correct.
And you remained on vacation until October 8th.
Correct.
Which was your first official shift.
Yes.
And on October 8th is when you logged those miles.
Correct.
And you said you didn't have your work cell phone, which would have been required for the two-step authentication when you were driving up those days.
Correct.
Do you know the maximum amount of miles you've driven personally in 1 month's period?
I do not.
You know, anywhere near 500?
Best of my knowledge, no. I don't have the same access to be able to look through our log in that manner that our administrators do.
Sure. But just keeping a mental tally, even if you wouldn't think you did that number.
No. Typically, a majority of my driving takes place right here in town. Somehow, some way, maybe there might be an occasional sporting event that I travel to, but obviously still falls within county's set mileage council.
Did you log the miles on October 8th because that's when you got back from vacation, or because that's when a supervisor told you to, or both?
It was because that was my first day back on shift.
Okay, so you were always going to do that.
Yes.
Is there anything else you want the board to know about the mileage logging?
I will add that at no time was I confronted or talked to by any supervisor or direct supervisor prior to October 8th of me entering the mileage.
So nobody told you to log that mileage, you just did it because you got back from vacation?
Yeah.
Now I want to move on to the social media posts.
Okay.
I don't think there's any dispute that you were off duty when you made those posts, correct?
Correct.
And you used your own personal Facebook page to do that.
That is correct.
In your view, you were acting as a private citizen at that point.
I was as a dad and as a human being.
Us lawyers tend to ask some silly questions, but your account wasn't associated with the town or the department in any way, right?
No.
Anything that you said in any of those posts, did you learn about any of those things in your capacity as a police officer with the Edinburgh Police Department?
No, I did not.
And any information you did have about the incident the article was about, you didn't share any proper nouns at all, people's names, locations, nothing.
No, I did not.
Even if you didn't know, it would have been from your position as a police officer, right?
Correct.
And you, in your posts, you criticize some of the decisions of the school superintendent. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
Okay. And the superintendent has no direct relation to the police department necessarily, right?
Not that I'm aware of.
And then you also, you had a certain opinion on double standards, and you voiced that opinion. Is that right?
Correct.
And your other issue was how the media was portraying certain events. You were expressing your opinion on how you don't necessarily agree with how the media handles certain facts.
Correct. Whether it was this story or any story for that matter, but
And when you received the message on Facebook Messenger from your chief, which, you know, the board has that copy of that message, did you take that as, how did you take that?
I just took it as, kind of that personal forewarning, like, hey, we live in a glass house, you should be careful.
Did you take it as an order to remove posts or stop posting or anything like that?
No, I did not.
How long have you known the chief?
Total, 9 years, give or take? I mean, outside of obviously just seeing him throughout the town. I've lived here since 2001, so.
And you didn't post anything as you were posting those statements that emphasized that you were a police officer with Edinburgh Police Department?
Not at any time did I mention about being a police officer as far as that perspective goes.
When you were making those posts, did you believe that that was within your First Amendment rights to make those posts?
Yes.
Why?
Freedom of speech is guaranteed under the First Amendment by our Constitution, which I swore to uphold standing in that room over there 8 years ago.
Well, if the chief or chief's counsel points out that there might be limits to your freedom of speech when you're a police officer, what are your thoughts on that?
I think we could all agree to disagree on that. If they were to ask me, even if I was asked that day, hey, could you please remove that as an official capacity, I would have removed it. But I was still under the impression that that was my First Amendment right to speak my own opinion and my own feelings as a dad and as a human being.
It's already been hinted at the questioning that your posts were related to an ongoing investigation, and that's problematic. What would you say about that?
If I was to release things that certain details that, again, I had no idea other than what I was informed of by several students and several people in the community, I would agree, but I didn't release anything that wasn't already well known throughout the community.
Anything else I haven't asked you about pertaining to your social media activity that you want the board to know?
Can't think of anything.
I don't have any other questions.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Mr. Holston?
Officer Corey, you testified about, the violence part, you going to Beacon auction program.
Correct.
Was that personally enjoyed or were you providing security?
That was just personal.
Okay, thank you. I didn't know. And then on the social media posts, you regret making those posts?
Regret making the post? No. I definitely could have handled it differently, yes. Obviously we can always Monday quarterback. As far as the police side goes, we're going to make a split millisecond decision that can be criticized for 20 years. As a human being, we can do the exact same thing. So yes, obviously I've had time to think about it. I should have handled it differently, but again, I was speaking as a dad and as a human being.
Do you see any potential issues that your posts could cause your police department or your fellow officers?
I do not know.
Thank you. Mr. Riley, anything on that?
Nothing more, thank you.
Thank you. Commission, do you have any questions for Officer Boyd?
One, please. Ryan, you alluded to that, and I actually think you did, sir, in your legal, that in your post, there was any questions that would elude you being a police officer or that would, that would, correct me if I'm saying this wrong, but would lead a path down that you were a police officer, that was through information that you had obtained through being a police officer. But in here, you stated that you battered a female to another, and that, I'm just curious how that information, how did you know that he battered a female?
Can I elaborate on that said post?
I would like for you to, yes.
Okay, so am I allowed to use names here?
There's names in this, so but I don't know, since we are public.
I would, if you can tell the story without using specific names the best you can, I'd
Okay.
appreciate
My
that.
So-
advice to my client is to not use people's.
I would prefer that.
Okay, so in that comment, there is a person, initial BR.
Yeah.
They made comments to me about me judging. My comment back to BR was referencing a incident that took place back in June or July of this year, actually over in Morgantown, that involved that person's son, that while representing the town of Edinburgh in Edinburgh outfit on a Little League baseball diamond, a physical altercation took place between that person's son and a female, roughly about in between second and third base. So that being said, I took said video. I went to the school and voiced my concerns again as a dad, as a human being, and as a previous coach for this town. That I didn't feel as though that person should be allowed to be out on a football field or a basketball court or a baseball diamond after that physical altercation. Not only was it a physical altercation in the middle of a Little League baseball game with children present, but it was a physical altercation between a male and a female on a Little League diamond in front of kids.
I'm trying to see if the correlation between.
Yeah, so that comment there has absolutely nothing to do with the incident that took place at the school
So it was a
around
response to
September.
this. Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Go ahead.
Ryan, when Chief Little sent you the Facebook, I know you're upset, but be careful what you post. That was sent on September 30th at 21:02.
Correct.
Did you respond back?
Yes. That should be, if I'm not
21:22.
mistaken, I think it should be right
Yeah,
the next page.
21:22, you clearly state, police should have never been involved. I mean, the school has responsibilities,
Correct.
and so they're governed by the state. So I guess, would you say this would kind of, you acting as a parent, as not much as a law officer at this
No,
time?
absolutely. Because at that point in time, the comment was made, the school had already suspended the two juvenile suspects
Correct.
and had already kicked them off of the football team at that point.
Correct.
So I didn't really see, as a parent, I didn't really see where there needed to be any police involvement.
But then you went on and said a choice word about the video, and then you wanted to put the blame on the superintendent.
No, so the blame was on the kids, and
Well, it said
the superintendent
the
mishandled
video
the situation.
blank is stupid and should never been sent out.
Absolutely.
Right, but then you go and say there are both wrongs for that. My ground I'm standing on is the double standard and the lie spread from the superintendent and the media and the lady. So it sounds like you're kind of wanting to be the judge on everything that's took place. And again, I'm assuming that's just the father instinct coming out of you.
Absolutely.
But we know you as a police officer in this small town.
Correct.
And unfortunately, people see how that looks.
I could see perception from both sides. Again, at the end of the day, this is just a uniform.
Right.
You know, I tell people from my very first contact with them that I don't know what kind of day, week, month, or life you've had prior to me showing up. You also don't know what kind of day, week, month of life I've had prior to showing.
Yeah.
And I give everybody that same respect and that trust up front. I would probably say that I'm one of the backwards cops when it comes to that, because I'm going to give you that respect and that trust up front. Yes, we do live in a small town. It is
Yeah.
3 miles by 5 miles wide.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've lived here since 2001.
Right.
I've coached youth sports. I look at everything as a human being, as a dad, as a coach, and obviously as a police officer. Everything that is before the council today was me speaking as a dad.
Right.
A dad that was concerned for his children, blood or not. I still love that boy that's involved in this. And at the end of the day, blood doesn't always make you family.
Gotcha.
Other questions?
Just one more, Ryan. I want to try to get this cleared up for some of us that may have never worn a uniform before. So you alluded to that you were going to Meekum, in the police vehicle in that
Oh, okay,
capacity.
yes.
Yes, right. And you did not have your phone, your police phone, because you were
Correct.
off your own vacation.
Correct.
And you asked, if I'm correct, sir, have you correctly entered in beginning in the past, prior to that? When we as a council allowed you guys, you had done this and you had entered it in correctly the day of. I think you even said that.
Correct.
So you knew that there was a two-step authentication to Spillman. We cleared that up, right? There is a
Correct.
two-step authentication. And you said that you did not have your phone.
Correct.
So if you knew you were taking the town vehicle that you had to use Spillman to log in the mileage, why didn't you take your phone? Because you had to have a two-step verification.
So to answer your question, there are times prior to that I would wait. So we'll use my long week as an example. All right. So I work Monday, Tuesday. I would log off 42 on Tuesday evening. Friday morning, I would log back in and I would put my personal use mileage if I used any over those 2 days.
Okay.
Nothing was ever said to me that was inappropriate prior to this.
Okay, that's what I'm trying to get to.
Yep. So again, just at that point in time, I had, 2 weeks off.
So for clarification, for the rest of us, you didn't do it every single day you used it for personal use.
Correct.
And if prior to this, take this event out of it. Prior to that, you had always done it at a different time, not the day of.
One way or another, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Any other questions from the commission? Mr. Riley, any questions on that?
No, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Hills?
No further questions.
Okay. Mr. Riley, any other testimony or evidence?
No, Officer Coy's my only witness for the rest.
Very good. Time for some closing arguments then. Mr. Helston, if you'd like to go first.
I think we've put all this in there. I'll find a way to close the argument.
Very good. Mr. Riley, you have the opportunity.
Can I just keep it extremely brief?
Sure. Officer Coy, you can have a seat.
Okay,
You're
thank
fine.
Yeah, I don't intend to insult the board by pointing out a bunch of things that have already been expressed in questioning and that you can infer on your own. But I just want to point out a few just pointed quick things, if that's okay. First of all, I do want to reemphasize that I think there's an agreement that the position is it's either the 3-day suspension stands or it's reversed. Obviously, our position is that it should be reversed. As far as the social media posts go, we're not asking you to endorse what he said. We're not asking you to agree with what he said. What I'm asking you to do is look at the policy that he's alleged to have violated and to see that it simply doesn't violate that policy. The policy that's been cited has to do with the town's use of its own social media, not the private use of an officer in his own off-duty time. I respect the fact that the chief doesn't like what he said, but the mechanism in which he is bringing forth discipline is not the appropriate one under that policy. Officer Coy does have a right to voice an opinion on a news story, on how the superintendent's acting. He does have that right. And that's, I mean, this is a national issue right now with people getting fired who are at-will employees, who aren't, whatever. And it's a sticky thing. But when there's going to be actual discipline, officers have a due process right to be heard when their property interest and their paycheck is taken away, which is what has happened to Officer Coy. And so I just, in order for his speech to rise to the level where we're taking away his paycheck, we need to tie it directly to a specific policy that is more strict than his First Amendment right. And I just don't think that the chief has established that to this point, at this point. So we would ask that you do not uphold the 3-day suspension for the grounds that he was just voicing an opinion on his own private time and on his own private Facebook page. The car issue, we can sit here and get out a literal microscope and look at this email all day long, but the bottom line is it wasn't clear to Officer Coy that he had to do it right, put in the mileage right when he was done doing that personal use. The days that he's in violation for, allegedly, are for when he was on vacation. He put the miles in right when he got back from vacation. He didn't have a cell phone with him to do that because he's never had to have it before. He didn't think he had to have it. He had not put the mileage in at that very specific time prior to this, and there was nothing said to him, nothing done about it. So obviously he had no intention of violating that policy, and he definitely, certainly, should not be suspended for that reason. So I would ask that you reverse the suspension. He has a crystal clean, nothing of a disciplinary record. I think that is a huge mitigating factor that the board should consider. And this should be dealt with as a learning opportunity, and going forward, I don't think you're going to see him in front of you, at least for this reason, ever again. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. I think where we are now, we're going to take a recess of the open meeting. We'll go into an executive session, which for those who don't understand what that means, it will be just the commission at this time deliberating and trying to determine what their decision is going to be. That's a closed door meeting. It will be without recording. It's a private affair where they can discuss things amongst themselves. Once they reach a decision, we will come back and resume our open meeting at that time, and the board will announce what the decision will be. Thank you, gentlemen. And just on behalf of the commission, I would like to thank everybody involved for doing such a good professional job. It's much appreciated. So thank you all very much.
Thank you.
With that, this meeting is now in recess. Executive session will begin, and I'm going to ask somebody else. Is it better for us to leave this room and go somewhere else? Okay, that's what we'll do then. Thank you.
I did too.
No, you're good. Yeah.